with us, Stephen A. Smith, Marcus Spears. Good morning, fellas. I'm Molly Karam. Good to see you both.
Well, first of all, I just want to know, are y'all okay? You know, I mean, I'm in L.A. I mean, I know y'all are not here. So I just want to know that, are y'all all right? Y'all okay?
To tell you the truth, I'm going to tell you the truth. In all honesty, I absolutely love going out to L.A. I absolutely love the warm weather. But I love to come home, too. So I'm good on both coasts. So I'm cool
coming
today.
Back.
I got
I'm
5
coming back.
days.
I just
I'm cool.
know that
Looking forward to you returning.
I just know that you left earlier than you really wanted to. So I just wanted to make sure that you were okay.
Yes, I got a lot done this weekend.
I will say to answer your question, OG, I am not fine that you are on the West Coast and I'm in Virginia. I am not fine. It is not okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying. All right. Let's talk some football. Let's do that football. Let's go.
The sport coat looks more than fine, though, Swaggo. I'm with it. All right. I'll start with you here, Stephen A. Tell me this. What do you expect Rodgers to do now that you just heard this latest from Jeremy Fowler?
I expect him to stay in Green Bay. For one of the rare times, I wouldn't blame Green Bay if they were a little disgusted with him, whether it was the fan base or whether it was the organization, and here's why. An indication like this, a situation like this, rather, with the Green Bay Packers where, they're willing to, make a long-term contract offer. They're willing to across right now, which I don't think is the greatest look, particularly when you consider how he couldn't put up 14 points to win a divisional playoff game on his home field in inclement weather against a team when you had rest and they didn't have the rest. When all of those things are the backdrop, the immediate backdrop, the most frequent backdrop of what you've just endured. One could argue you got some damn nerve to be putting people through all of this. You do have a right to sit up there and say, I want to stay or I want to go, considering the level of greatness and the fact that you're a reigning 2-time league MVP. But all of this drama, I think, is reserved for champions. And the last 12 years, that has not been you.
Yes, sir. I'm glad somebody else said it. See, S.A., when you say it, the world takes notice. Charles Barkley said he's the girl that you got to tell they pretty all the time. You got to continue to tell them. The world takes notice when the OGs speak. I think he leaves. And here's the thing. Like, I know I've been saying this a long time. And the safe bet is,
Hold on,
Aaron
Marcus,
Rodgers
you think he
stays.
leaves?
The Green Bay Packers.
Hold on, Marcus, you're saying that you think he's leaving. Oh, okay. I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
okay.
I think he's leaving. I I was on this last year when everything was transpiring. And you and I talked about this, S.A., on the show. I said the Green Bay Packers need to cut ties with Aaron Rodgers. A lot for the things that you just said. Yeah, I know it's scary. I know he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But you have now gone through 2 off seasons where you are waiting to see if the most important player on your team is deciding to play for you. Not a contract dispute, not something that we can't see eye to eye. As he said. So as I look at all of that, I'm saying, you doing all of this again to stay? You have all of this speculation going on again to stay? And now there are rumors about other places that will have contracts. Let's get America straight, S.A. There will be anybody in the league that wants Aaron Rodgers to make him the highest paid quarterback. That ain't no damn breaking news. There will be teams that will change their rosters. They will do things. They will do what Aaron Rodgers needs them to do in order for him to come play. He's earned that. That's kudos to Aaron Rodgers because of how great he is. But to continue this saga or this soap opera with the Green Bay Packers about what I'm doing, what is he going to do? The general manager trying to be. Let me ask you this, S.A. I'm going to pass this to you. Let me ask you this. Do you think the Green Bay Packers brass are happy with Aaron Rodgers, or because he plays at a high level, they just sink in themselves in order to keep everything kosher depending on the decision that they're making?
I don't think they're happy with him at all, but I will tell you this. I don't give a damn about their happiness. I don't mind if they're miserable because I think for the most part, they brought this on themselves up until last summer. Once you basically addressed the situation with Aaron Rodgers last summer, we shouldn't be going through all of this with Aaron Rodgers now. You went through the season after you sat up there and made all of that noise, and rightfully so, because he was being disrespected. He wasn't appreciated nearly as much as he should have been by brass. I remember when I was once told that he wanted to make a suggestion, and they said, you play, we run the organization, and shut the hell up and go out there on the field and do your job. They were very dismissive towards him for years to come. So I definitely understood his frustration, and when he had that press conference last year and just illuminated all of the issues that he had with them, I thought that came across as very profound, very thorough, very on point, et cetera, et cetera. So we understood that. But once you got past that and showed up on the football field, you had an obligation to show up and produce. And I know that he did during the regular season, being that bad man we've all known him to be. And it's just one game. But one game in the playoffs matter because it can send you home. And when you can't score 14 points, you're the top seed. You had a bye week. San Francisco played Dallas the week before. They beat Dallas. They came in there without rest on your turf, with you rested, and the special teams messed everything up. I get that, but that still doesn't excuse your inability to be to put up more than 10 points in a divisional playoff game on your home field. The fact that we are sitting here dealing with all of this noise, with Aaron Rodgers evidently incapable of making up his mind in an expeditious fashion, you are walking around like you are a champion, like this is 2011 and you had just won the title in 2010, as opposed to the individual that has now gone 11 or 12 consecutive seasons where not only have you not won a Super Bowl, you haven't even made the Super Bowl. And the fact that you're as great as you are, but you still have never been able to raise the Lombardi Trophy or even show up on a Sunday afternoon to compete for that Lombardi Trophy in a Super Bowl appearance in more than a decade. That should be something that rakes your soul to the point where some level of humility kicks in and you're able to make up your mind and not make up all of these, basically be responsible for all of these headlines because of your inability to make a decision because you want to be courted. That's ridiculous.
You know what? Listening to you brings something to mind. Maybe he can't get it done. I know we focused on everything else. With the Green Bay Packers. And we talked about the roster management, the disrespect. And look, I have never disagreed with you on the Green Bay Packers handling of the man off the field. The thing that I've disagreed with so many people about is the team was good enough to go to NFC championships. So somebody was doing a good job putting this roster together. But let me get to my second point based on something that you just said. My issue is this. You had a year. We've listened to Aaron Rodgers all year talk about the relationship is getting better. I like Matt LaFleur. I know his coach, Nathaniel Hackett, left and went to the Denver Broncos. All of the things that led up to this particular offseason, as we sit here on every damn show on ESPN trying to figure out what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, we shouldn't be here, S.A. We should not be here with Aaron Rodgers after the tumultuous offseason last year and the decisions that the Green Bay Packers made to make him happy. And then you had an entire year to work with Gutekunst, to work with Mark Murphy, to work with Matt LaFleur, to look at this roster and understand the things that you need in order to try to go win a championship, which I'm not 100% agreeing on everybody with that with. And now people talking about, well, the season just ended. He's trying to decompress and make his mind up. Bro, we was going through this in 2020.
No, Marcus, I feel your pain, but let me get in here because you said you think he leaves. So do you think Denver is the right spot for him? And Stephen A., I want you to piggyback.
I think Denver would be a great spot. I know the consensus is you don't go to the AFC with the heat that's in that division. But like Stephen A. calls him all the time, a bad man. You should be the force multiplier, as people use. So, look, Denver has a young roster. They have a tremendous amount of talent offensively. Defensively, they've done a phenomenal job. And now his coach, a guy that he's worked in unison with for a number of years, is leading the way there. So, yeah, it would be a good spot. And miss me with you got to compete with Mahomes and Justin Herbert. You want to make it easier. At some point, you're going to see him. At some point, you're going to see them. Nobody said that when Joe Burrow was taking Cincinnati to the Super Bowl when he was getting drubbed every game against the pass rush, getting his head decapitated in every single game, and ended up going to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. So let's pause on that whole scenario that he shouldn't go there because it's difficult. The bottom line is this. When you point to Aaron Rodgers in this Green Bay Packers situation, he should already know what he's doing and not put these people on,
Marcus,
even have them in a waiting game or go ahead.
Marcus, do you see the shades?
Oh
do you see the shades?
Cardi B
let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I put on the shades.
He only wears Cartier.
I put on the shades, Marcus Spears, Swagoo. I put on the shades, Molly Q. You know why? Because y'all got me to my Ric Flair mode. Whoa! To beat a man, you've got to beat the man, okay? You don't want to hear about Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr being in the NFC West. You know why? Because I'm supposed to be that dude. That's why. Whoa! To beat a man, you got to beat the man. And that's what Aaron Rodgers is supposed to do. It's supposed to be this right here. You understand what I'm saying? It's supposed to be about all of that. It's supposed to be about the bling. It's supposed to be about the Jets. It's supposed to be about jet flying, son of a gun. Whoa! That's how you're supposed to have that kind of attitude. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers, anybody that thinks he's supposed to hesitate to be a part of the AFC, it doesn't matter. When you're that man, it's not supposed to matter where you at, who you represent, or anybody, because it's not about anybody else. It's supposed to be about you. Whoa.
Preach, OG. Preach, OG. Preach, OG. Molly, I ain't got nothing to say. The OG just laid down the sermon.
Stephen A., waking me up early. Before we move on to the NBA and we say goodbye to Marcus for a second, though, Stephen A., what do you think? Do you want him to stay in Green Bay, or would you rather him go to Denver?
My honest answer to that question, at this moment, I don't give a damn.
Okay.
I'm so sick.
We do not care.
And tired of all of this. I don't care where he's at. Just make a decision.
Okay.
Because I'm tired of talking about him.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is he lost in the divisional playoff game. When I watched the NFC Championship game, I saw the Rams. I saw the 49ers. When I watched the Super Bowl, I saw the Rams. I saw the Bengals. I ain't seen Aaron Rodgers anywhere. And that's been the case from 2010 all the way to 2022. Enough already.
That's fair.
When he makes a decision, call me, okay? Because whoever gets him is getting a bad man because he's a bad brother. It's just that you ain't get it done.
Yeah.
I want this kind of attention is supposed to be reserved for champions, not people who came up short.
Fair
That's
enough.
all I'm saying.
Don't talk about it, be about it. Okay. Well, we'll certainly call you. Don't you worry when that news breaks.
He's a
You'll
champion.
be right on television.
But you know what I'm saying.
We get you, Cardi B. We get you. Living your best life out in Cali. I see you. Marcus.
West Coast SA.
Marcus,
by the way, Molly.
we'll be back.
By the way, Molly,
yes,
as an aside,
tell me.
As an aside,
yeah.
Swagoo, Molly Q.
Yeah.
I'm still here because Brick returns to Port Charles, and I'm here to just tape some scenes for General Hospital. So that's why I'm here.
Oh, that's happening
That's
today?
why I'm here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
General Hospital's in the building.
Let's go.
Sonny Corinthos, a.k.a. Maurice Bernard, has summoned me to Port Charles. I got business to handle for the mob.
Got to be back.
Brick's got to be in the house. That's why I'm here.
America knows you've got range, Stephen A. He's a thespian, too. There we go. Already getting into character in rare form on a Monday morning. Let's keep it rolling. Marcus, talk to you in a minute.
I love your voice. I love your voice.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to tap you out here for Kendrick Perkins. Let's keep it rolling. Jason Tatum, fellas, has been on a tear since his birthday. He put on a show versus former teammate Kyrie Irving in the Nets in Boston, dropping 36 through the first three quarters and had 54 on the night. His fourth 50-point game en route to a 6-point victory. Meanwhile, Kevin Durant became the seventh fastest player to 25,000 points last night in the loss. KD is at the mic.
I mean, concerned and worried, those words, like, it's easy to do that. It's easy to be concerned. It's easy to be worried and pissed off and mad. It's easy to do that. We could point fingers and, blame our season on other things, but let's just go play. We got another game. We got 17 more, and let's see what happens, at the end of them. We just take it a day at a time, man. Day at a time, and I'm confident in this group.
All right. Big Perk, top of the morning to you. Good to see you, sir. Boston, your former squad where you won a championship, 5th in the East, Brooklyn 9th, and the Nets dropped 1 game below 500, fellas. Perk, I want to start with you. Who's more likely to come out of the East? Would you say it's the Nets or the C's?
Molly, is that even a question?
Yes,
is that even
a question?
It's the
Absolutely.
It's the Boston Celtics. Did you see how the Garden was rocking last night? Did you see it? And look, we already know that Jason Tatum has been one of the most prolific scorers in the game today. But guess what? He's turned it up another notch. And I'm not just talking about that 50-piece wing dinner he dropped all flats. I'm talking about the tenacity that he's playing with. When you look at this Celtic roster, top to bottom, first, they've been the best defensive team over the last 2 months. Let's get that out the way. Now Jason Tatum is leading the charge. Then he have his counterpartner in Jaylen Brown. Marcus Smart has found his role as being the facilitator. I love the addition of Derrick Wright. And then you have a guy that flies under the radar in Grant Williams, a guy that you could go small with, who could guard 1 through 4, a guy that is one of the best at knocking down corner threes. Heck, he could defend at a high level. And then, oh my God, you have Robert Williams, a top 10 center in the league, a guy that could defend the paint, a guy that could switch 1 through 5s, a guy that's a lob threat at the basket. So if you're asking me right now, who has the better chance at winning the championship between the Brooklyn Nets, the team that haven't even seen Ben Simmons, the team that is 1 game below 500, or the team that has been playing the best basketball for the last 2 months? Give me the Boston Celtics right now. Give me the Celtics over the Brooklyn Nets, and I think Stephen A. about to agree with me.
Well, I don't disagree with you at this particular moment in time, Swagoo, but I'm just looking ahead. Obviously, we're projecting.
It's perfect.
I'm sorry, my bad. I'm at the Swagoo. I saw the Swagoo and Perk podcast. I got caught up in that on Apple and Spotify and the ESPN app. My bad. I was distracted. My bad, my brother. My bad. You know what I'm saying? But here's the deal, Big Perk. I don't disagree with you if I had to make that decision now. But if you're asking me now who I'll think be standing longer in the end of the Eastern Conference picture, that's how I'm answering that question. And it's off of a big assumption. I'm in no position. Let me be very clear. I'm in no position right now to disagree with your point because Jason Tatum is that dude. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, even though he's averaging 26.5 points, he only shoots 43% from the field and 33% from three-point range. Imagine when he gets even more efficient. And I'm noticing that the bigger the game, the bigger the spotlight, the more the brother steps up. Jason Tatum is a superstar, and this is one of the reasons why Brian Colangelo is no longer an executive in the NBA, because he got hosed by Danny Ainge and Boston. Remember, okay, the man sat up there and gave up the number 1 overall pick to, he had the number 3 overall pick, moved up to number 1, all right, to take Markelle Fultz when he could have took Jason Tatum. I mean, don't get me started, okay? But here's the deal. Jason Tatum is big time. Udoka is really showing me a lot as a coach, man. I'm very impressed with this brother. He is a Coach of the Year candidate. And all of these folks that were hesitant to hire black men, to lead black men, I would remind you, think about what J.B. Bickerstaff is doing in Cleveland. Think about what Udoka is doing in Boston. Think about what Monty Williams is doing in Phoenix. And then come tell me the hesitancy in black individuals being in leadership positions as head coaches on the NBA level and, of course, definitely on the NFL level. Come to me with just go someplace with that. But let me get to you about Brooklyn. KD getting on my damn nerves. And I'm going to tell you why, KP. KD, to me, when healthy, is the best player on the planet. He's that lethal, okay? He's a professional scorer. We know what he could do, all right? We know what Kyrie can do, even though it wasn't there yesterday. I guess the sage that he was spreading throughout the arena before the game. You know, I guess he didn't do that yesterday, or if he did it, it didn't work. You know, just spraying, purifying air all around us. Didn't work for him yesterday, okay? But that's neither here nor there. I make my proclamations about the Brooklyn Nets based on the availability of the players. I'm making that assumption that they're going to be on the court. Never in my wildest dreams that I think that, oh, my God, we still ain't seen Ben Simmons at all. I mean, I don't want to hear, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I usually don't do that because obviously mental health issues are things that we take very, very seriously. And I understand all the stuff that went on in Philadelphia. And you can have your own opinions about that. But I don't want to hear about that now. And I damn sure don't want to hear about some back injury. Miss me with that. You ain't played since last June. What the hell you do? Slip in the shower? Well, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you were doing squats in your home gym, and all of a sudden you tweak something. What the hell happened that your back is hurting now? I don't want to hear this nonsense. You scared to play in Philadelphia. You scared to play in Philadelphia. And the Brooklyn Nets, it's an accusation. I ain't no source. It's not sourced, you know, or anything like that. It is a personal accusation that I am making on national television. You scared to play in Philadelphia. And the Brooklyn Nets organization is helping you get away with that nonsense, with this bogusness about a back injury. Y'all can miss me with that. Kiss my you-know-what. That's nonsense, all right? And all I'm saying is this. The reason why Kevin Durant is bothering me is because I believe with Ben Simmons and KD on the court, with Seth Curry, with the Patty Mills and those boys, these brothers could go to the finals. That's what I feel about the Brooklyn Nets. And the fact that KD is sitting back there and it's like, yo, there's no urgency. My brother, they leaving you hanging. They're leaving you hanging, KD. I don't understand how you haven't raised holy hell about the urgency of this moment. Because, listen, let me tell you something right now. You know, you might be in a play-in game. And that means you end up going up against Milwaukee or somebody with the number one seed. You could beat anybody, but you could also lose. As it pertains to your 76ers, I'm sorry, not 76ers, the Celtics. I would say this. They'd get Chicago in the first round if the playoffs were to begin today. Then we get Chicago. Boston 5, Chicago 4. And obviously we anticipate that Caruso and Lonzo Ball will be back at that particular moment in time. And when those guys are on Chicago's squad, they play some defense. And with the way DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine are rolling, it would be a very interesting series. Go ahead.
No, it would. But Stephen A., first of all, let me tell you this. The Brooklyn Nets, have to get out of the play-in tournament. And when I'm looking, and I told you this last week, when I'm looking at a team like the Atlanta Hawks, what Trae Young could do to a team, you know, in a 1 or 2 games to send them home, you don't want to float. You don't want to swim in those dangerous waters.
What about
if you got to
Toronto?
go against a young team, that Toronto, the Charlotte Hornets.
And Kyrie can't play in Toronto.
And he can't play. But let me get to a point. 2 points that you brought up.
Sure.
One about Ben Simmons. See, what people don't realize is 17 games left in the season. Okay, and we haven't seen Ben Simmons play since last June. Okay, so we don't know what type of Ben Simmons we're going to get. And I have to constantly remind people that in order to get into basketball shape, you have to play basketball. In order to get into an NBA level type shape, you have to get on that stage. He hasn't played that yet. So his workload for his legs, we don't know what they can handle. But then to another point, this is why James Harden got the hell up out of there. When you talk about what's going on, when you talk about Ben Simmons not being available, we know what's going on with Kyrie. It speaks to what, Stephen A.? It speaks to the damn culture. And that's what the Nets don't have. They don't have a damn culture. And James Harden saw this coming a miles away, and this is why he forced his way out of Brooklyn. So until they start holding guys accountable and things to that nature, it is what it is. And here's one more other point.
Sure.
If the Brooklyn Nets happen to get out of the play-in and get into the playoffs, what happens if they see the Philadelphia 76ers? Ben Simmons, you can't run and hide then. You can't run and hide then.
You know what? Here's the saddest part.
Brother.
Here's the saddest part. Here's the saddest part, Big Perk. I don't know. At this point, I don't know if he wouldn't run and hide. I don't even know. He might do that. He just might do that. He might do that. He might sit up there and blame it on traffic jam on I-95. He might sit up there and eat something at the rest stop in New Jersey and they claim that he got food poisoning or something. I don't know what the hell he'll come up with. I mean, this is ridiculous, all right? And I'm going to say this, too. Getting back to KD. See, this is what bothers me. Because, again, I believe him to be the best in the world. And I love KD. I truly do. He's a good brother. You're a bit truculent looking at times and all of that other stuff. Him and Westbrook got that in common. But the brother is a good. They're both good brothers, man. But here's the deal. When I said people are gonna look at him, and it's gonna be about the fact that you left Steph Curry for Kyrie, that's very, very real. Because what happens is, what does Golden State have, KP? Culture. They do have leaders. They have culture.
You chose.
They have coaching. They have leadership. And so what I'm saying is, when you depart from that, what you're saying is, I ain't worried about that because I got that covered. Well, if you got that covered, why is Kyrie doing what he wants to do? Why is Ben Simmons running from challenges? And why, and most importantly, Molly Q and KP, why are you leaving Kevin Durant hanging? I'm telling you right now, what we celebrated about James Harden last year was that in that seventh game or whatever, I mean, this dude was on the court on one leg because Kyrie was hurt, and they knew that KD needed something. And the fact that KD has surrounded himself with dudes that seem to prioritize everything. But KD, if I had a teammate like KD, I'm like, I got to be there. I don't care what it takes because he's too important, he's too gifted, and he never cheats us. I got to come there and support him. They're not doing it, and he is letting them get away with it. And as a result, I'm already crafting this apology, Molly. I got to sit here and craft my apology. I mean, I got to write a damn dissertation of an apology to Daryl Morey. I got to apologize. They got me on the verge where I'm going to have to apologize to Daryl Morey because I thought the man got hosed. And here he is. Daryl Morey evidently knew about Ben Simmons. He knew what they were getting with Andre Drummond because he can't defend the pick and roll to save his life. He can rebound, but he can't defend a pick and roll situation to save his life, okay? He knew about Ben Simmons evidently. He knew about Andre Drummond. And damn it, he probably knew about Kyrie. Daryl, I might have to apologize if it keeps going this way. Y'all gonna see me on national TV.
Here's a good starting point. Dear Daryl, comma. That's always a good way to start. Dear Daryl.
Dear Daryl, whose wife is one of my biggest fans because she loves General Hospital. So here it is. And she loves it. And I'm like, yo, I got to go to Philadelphia. I got to drive to Philadelphia soon. If this keeps up, I'm going to have to drive to Philadelphia just to apologize to Daryl Morey. After I do it on national television.
Molly,
I hear you, Kirk.
Molly, look at my face.
Well,
look at my face.
Look
at this, though.
Hold on.
I can't say a word. They're going to have me driving to Philadelphia just to apologize to Daryl Morey.
I don't even know where to go. All I need to say is this real quick, though. Kevin Durant knew he was in the trenches by himself after he played Miami because he made note real quick. They had 4 guys scoring 20, and he just had himself.
I ain't there yet, but I'm prepared to apologize to Daryl Morey.
Okay.
I ain't there yet.
Okay. Dear Daryl. Still to come on First Take, Nikola Jokic did something last night that only Kobe Bean Bryant has done. And Stafford courtside with his wife. LeBron took notice, reminding folks never to count him out, putting up a historic performance, 56 points in an 8-point win over the Dubs. Meanwhile, Golden State received some good news. Draymond Green will be back in 7 to 10 days. The Warriors are second in the West, 7 games behind the Suns. Kendrick Perkins back here with us. Stephen A. Smith, you've had the Dubs all season long. Tell me this. Are the Warriors still legit title threats? Because I understand you were on that court Saturday night. Are you still feeling confident?
Oh, I'm not feeling nearly as confident as I was, but it's primarily pretty much solely because of the absence of Draymond Green. I think that the best thing that has happened to the brand that is Draymond Green is him being out, because we realize now how important he is to this franchise. Defensively, they would be significantly better with him on the court. There is no denying that. When he's on the court healthy, Draymond Green is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate pretty much every year. He's that elite. He's that intelligent of a basketball player. His leadership, what KP alluded to in terms of culture and what's lacking in Brooklyn. Nobody would ever say that in Golden State, because the one thing you know about Draymond Green, as emotional as he is on the court and how he has to monitor arguing with the refs and getting technical fouls, you know, I've seen it up close and personal, him hold players, one player after another, accountable for making sure they fulfill their collective responsibilities on the basketball court, knowing their assignments, knowing what they're supposed to do, knowing how they're supposed to do it, and getting all up in them to make sure that they do exactly that. So you would improve exponentially defensively. And on the offensive side of the ball, you got a point forward that's basically a setup artist. KP, I will tell you, his absence combined with the body language I saw from Klay Thompson Saturday has me a tad bit concerned. You know, he just didn't seem right. And it was on his face, too. You know, I've seen him happier. I've seen him more enthusiastic. I see him more hyped and ready to go, especially when he stepped into the Staples Center. That was not the case this past Saturday night. As far as I was concerned, Steph Curry was all alone. And so when I look at it from that perspective, there's cause to pause. There's cause for concerns, particularly when you see what's happening in Phoenix, even without CP3, what's happening with Utah, Memphis, etc. But I still consider the Warriors a legit threat because I don't expect Draymond Green to be gone for the season. Like they said, he's coming back. Klay Thompson, as long as he's healthy, I expect him to be relevant. And Wiseman will be back in the mix too.
You know what? As the world turns, you used to watch that soap opera, right? I know you heard
not
of that
one.
soap opera.
Not that one. All my children, One Life to Live, and their General Hospital.
Well,
and Young and the Restless.
Yeah, that's all good. That's all good. But let me say this. Let me say this to you, because now for some reason we're having flashback Mondays, okay? And I told you when Klay Thompson came back, I said to you that they were going to have chemistry problems. I told you with the emergence of Jordan Poole having to take a lesser role, Klay Thompson having to fit in along with Andrew Wiggins, that they were going to have problems. Yes, Klay Thompson's body language probably had a lot to do with Draymond Green, but it also has a lot to do with the Warriors system. And so here's the problem that I have with you and everybody else around the world, is that when the Warriors are hitting those threes, we're singing their praises. I mean, they're shooting it from the parking lot. They're doing this. But when they're not hitting those threes, nobody holds them accountable for playing bad basketball. No one says a goddamn word about them playing bad basketball. And that's a problem that I have with you. And then on the other hand, you know what else? You don't hold Steph Curry accountable. You do not. This is the one guy that you let Steph Curry off the hook because
I do. And proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
Because the conversations we have, comparing them up in there with Jordan and doing all this, and they losing 10 out of 13 with still the personnel that they have. If it was any other superstar, you would be on here giving him the business. Okay? And here's the other concern what I have with the Warriors.
You gonna let me respond? I'm waiting to respond.
No, I'm not finished. I'm not finishing telling you about my concerns. My concerns is, yes, they do need Draymond Green back. But Draymond Green been sidelined since January the 9th, I believe it is, with a back injury. This ain't back spasms. So we all know how that is dealing with back injuries. Even if he comes back, do we know if he's going to be 100%? Okay, so you could go ahead and respond. But I'm just telling you right now, to me, looking at this Golden State Warriors team and having a Draymond Green that's been dealing with a back injury, are they legit title contenders? Hell no.
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, that last part is just blasphemous. Just blasphemous. That's number one. Number two, damn is okay. The other word added to it, might want to pipe that down. Don't do that.
Yes.
Number
don't
three,
use God's name in vain.
We want to refrain from that, KP. It's okay. It's all right. You're right. Just a mistake.
I'm sorry, but I said it was GOT. Okay.
Okay,
That's
GOT. Okay, I know, but you know how people hear. You know how people hear. So that's all right.
Yeah.
So let's get this.
Right.
No biggie.
Right.
We got you. So that's number 2. Number 3. Big Perk, I never said that I was fixated on the Golden State Warriors finishing as the number 1 seed in the West. I never said that they just gonna be all comfortable and in cruise control and they're not gonna have any hiccups in the season. I never disputed your point that when Klay Thompson came back because of Jordan Poole and Toscano Anderson, even though Toscano Anderson, he's lucky he in the lineup for a month after that display in the slam dunk contest. That was enough for banishment for 1 month for punishment as far as I'm concerned. So he's lucky he's still on the damn court because I like him and I like him a lot. But that was just an atrocious performance in the slam dunk contest. Gave the organization a bad rep. The bottom line is this. I never failed to anticipate that those issues were going to happen. What I'm saying is because of who Klay is and because of how he knows how to play the game of basketball, when it really, really counts, all I'm concerned about is his health. I ain't concerned about nothing else. Because if he's healthy, watch what he does. And I believe I'm going to be right. So, again, we understand what you're saying in that regard, but my point is still consistent, and I ain't backing up from it. Now let's get to your point about Steph Curry, the greatest shooter that God has ever created. We all know that to be true. When you are a shooter, and listen, I understand that. Little hiccup, mid-back shell, stuff happens. You know what I'm saying? We understand it. But you know this as well as I do, KP. You know it better than me because you played. The reality of the situation is, with shooters, this kind of stuff always happens for a short period of time. It's not that big of a deal. And when I see Steph Curry and you dropping 28 or you dropping 30, but your team loses and what have you, because other dudes are not stepping up, that's something that Steve Kerr and those boys will figure it out. Again, my issue is their health. Because if it were not for their health, this wouldn't be an issue at all. Even with chemistry problems, they'd still have won half of these games. Easy. It wouldn't be no 10 out of 13 losses. I mean, it wouldn't happen. Not like that. So when you have injuries, this stuff happens. And I'm getting tired of you ignoring that. Your team lost the championship, I believe, because you weren't available. They needed your big behind in the post. You understand, dealing with Bynum and Gasol and those brothers. And when you weren't there, that was a tremendous loss. Injuries play a role. Stop conveniently forgetting about it when it happens. You know that matters.
I didn't say it didn't. And guess what? By the way, we had Rasheed Wallace, although he was a little older. Guess what Rasheed Wallace was dealing with, Stephen A? Back issues.
I understand.
Back issues.
I know that.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to tell you about that. But no, here's the thing. This is the problem that I have. You talk about Steph Curry having 28 or 30. That last 30 or whatever he had, he took 28, 29 shots. But here's the thing that I have a problem with you. Any other superstar in the game today that would have lost, I believe, 10 out of 13 of their games over the last 13 games, you would have had something to say. You would have had something to say about him. But when it comes from Steph, because you're so fascinated with shooting, that's all you talk about. Shooting. Let me ask you this, Big Perk. Hold on. I talk about shooters. I talk about shooting with guards. I talk about shooting with scorers. I damn sure don't talk about shooting with the Dennis Rodmans of the world and others. I understand there are people that don't have that responsibility. Let me ask you this question. How would Kendrick Perkins today, right now, be speaking about Russell Westbrook if he could shoot? That's not what you mean.
No, what I'm saying is shooting matters. Shooting is that important for most players.
Hey, Stephen A., you ready for some hardcore facts? Cold facts? This might hurt your heart. Okay? We talk. Here's the thing that people don't want to realize, and I know the Warrior fans are going to be waiting on me at the front door, and I don't give a damn. Okay? The fact of the matter is this. When it's time for Steph to step up the most, he doesn't. Okay, so when you go back and look before Kevin Durant got there, and you look at Andre Iguodala winning the Finals MVP,
Oh my
and then
God.
all of a sudden, hey, you know why? You know why Draymond Green was on his phone in the parking lot calling Kevin Durant? Because he know he needed him. He needed
He's
him.
6'11" and can shoot, KP. Didn't I give you this lesson last week when we were here in L.A.? Did I not give you this lesson last week in L.A. when I said to you and I asked you to post me up? You couldn't even see me, okay? The fact of the matter is size matters. The dude's 6'3", man. Come on, man. Come on.
Then is Steph Curry not in your top 10 greatest players of all time?
Well, I didn't say he was there yet. What I said is I got to think about it because I think he's tinkering towards it, and Mad Dog went ballistic. I think he's inching towards it, yes.
Is he
He's knocking at the door. He's knocking at the door.
And he's knocking at the door for me, but that don't deserve for him to get a pass for having these Warriors look the way that they look right now.
What are you talking about having the Warriors look the way that they look? It's a mid-season.
They lost 10 out of 13.
I understand
they lost 10
that.
out of 13.
They'll get it together.
But you never address him. You address LeBron James, you address James Harden, you address everybody under the sun, but you never say nothing about Steph Curry.
I haven't said anything about the greatest shooter God has ever created. I mean, that's so sacrilegious. I'm so shocked that I would do such a thing. He's that great. And let me tell you this right now. Here's the deal. The bottom line is this.
Welcome
you look
to the
at,
club.
like you said, Klay Thompson coming back, not 100%. Having to, get him back involved. You got Jordan Poole and Toscano Anderson and others who've suffered because they tried to get him involved. Draymond Green has been out. Wiseman has been out. And you want me to look at a 6'3" guard that's double teamed, that they blitzed him every time he went past half court when he played against Dallas the other day. You want me to look at him and say, excuse me, this 6'3" guard, all right, that is the greatest shooter ever. I need to hold him accountable? Oh, please. Just stop it. Stop it.
Big Perk, talk to me in 7 to 10 days when Draymond's back.
That's
Let's
how
keep it
about
moving
that?
Here, guys. Still
We'll
to come
see.
on First Take.
We'll
the
see.
worst
I ain't
trade
going nowhere.
We'll see.
history. The worst trade in Lakers history. Did you hear me? Magic Johnson sounding off on the decision to trade for Westbrook. Don't miss the fellas on that.
All is not lost because we still have the play-in game. So if we can get through that, get to a series, we'll play one of the best teams in Phoenix or Golden State, but I'd rather for us to be there because if we don't, this trade could go down as the worst trade in Laker history.
Whoa!
If we don't get out the play-in game, that's what'll happen.
Strong words by Magic Johnson. Stephen A., obviously you're right there with him on the court. Is the Westbrook trade the worst in Lakers history?
Well, let's go with what Magic Johnson said. If they don't get out of the play-in game, it could go down as the worst. I think we'll all say it's the worst. And I want to preface my comments and I want to address all the Westbrook supporters, himself, his family, and everybody else. You know, the other day, a lot of noise was made about my point of it's the first time I looked at Russell Westbrook and said he didn't deserve to be a Laker. That's exactly what the hell I meant. I'm not stuttering, but it wasn't because of how he has played. See, people, that's the one thing I hate. I understand clickbait and the trolls and the media and all of that other stuff. I don't mind that. It's just when people don't give it its proper context and you misquote folks on purpose. See, that's why the athletes hate folks. When you don't contextualize things properly because you want clickbait. So Stephen A. said this, knowing that half the players only see the headlines and they ain't read the article and all they see is the headline and it's like you're a hater or whatever the case may be. No, Russell Westbrook is shooting 28% from three-point range. That's not why he shouldn't be a Laker. Russell Westbrook is having his worst season, averaging 18, 7, and 7 on 43% shooting from the field. That's why he shouldn't be a Laker. That's not why he shouldn't be a Laker. He's averaging 4 turnovers a game. That's not why he shouldn't be a Laker. These things happen. I was saying, you're not a Laker if you're going to sit up there with a straight face and tell the world you did not have any expectation when you became a Laker. That's all. Because what I'm saying is, when you put on the purple and gold, when you rep Laker Nation, KP, you played in the NBA, you followed the NBA, you're now reporting and commentating on the NBA. I ask you one simple question before I go on, KP, and put Kendrick Perkins up on the screen because I want to see him. Tell me one time in your life that you ever saw any Laker, that includes Dwight Howard, back when he was a Laker before. Tell me one time you've ever seen a Laker say, I came here with no expectations. Who's that person? Ever. It's never happened. Ever. I'll answer it for you. It's never happened. You can't find it because they're the most storied franchise in basketball annals, them and the Boston Celtics, because you understand what comes with wearing that uniform. If somebody, Kendrick Perkins retired from basketball years ago, Molly. He's working with us now. You want me to tell you one time where you might have to restrain Kendrick Perkins from putting his hands on somebody? Let a Boston Celtics say, we don't have expectation. I promise you they're going to have a problem with Big Perk. Big Perk going to see them. Everybody's going to see it because you understand. If there's two franchises in the sport of basketball, you can never, ever utter those words. It is the Lakers and it is the Boston Celtics. And so when we look at Russell Westbrook and we piggyback off of what Magic Johnson said, who completely co-signed what I said, what did he talk about? He said Russell Westbrook can't be blaming the media, can't be blaming everybody. You got to own accountability and accept the fact you're just not playing that well. Now, sure, Frank Vogel might have something to do with that. The coaching staff might be confusing you a bit, asking you to do one thing one day, another thing another day, according to Russell Westbrook. I don't know that to be true, but that's what he said. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's support him on that because Russell Westbrook ain't known to be a liar. Nobody's important enough for him to lie to them, okay? We get all of that. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But there is no circumstance that Russell Westbrook can conjure up in his mind or in his heart that doesn't have some level of culpability for himself. And if that is the reality, then you can't say, I came here with LeBron James as my teammate, with Anthony Davis as my teammate, and I had no expectations. That is what makes this. That is what would make this. That and not winning and getting bounced out in a playing game. That is what would make this the worst trade in Laker history because you will have acquired someone who did not embrace and accept the responsibility that comes with being a star on the Los Angeles Lakers.
You know what? Here's the only thing that I slightly disagree with you and the great Magic Johnson on, Stephen A.
Okay.
Is the Lakers traded for a top 75 greatest player of all time in Russell Westbrook. They didn't really have to give up much. So I would say that it wouldn't be the worst trade in Laker history. I would say it would be the worst failure in Laker history. Hell, I'm willing to say that it would be the worst failure in NBA history if they don't make the playoffs or if they get bounced in the first round. But look, you made a lot of points. I was watching y'all on the count. Yeah, in the playing game. I was watching y'all on the countdown the other day. Leave me up here with you, Stephen A.
Yeah. And by the way, did you see the black suit, the Matrix, the Men in Black look I was rocking?
I did.
Did you see that?
I did. Hey, you was dripping so hard it had a water. You was dripping so hard it had a water puddle down there. Listen, here's the thing.
Right.
Here's the thing I want to say. I watched you, Magic, Greeny, Will Bourne, and Jay Rose, and y'all was sitting up there and y'all was discussing the games and all that, doing y'all thing. And then I watched LeBron James come from the layup line and dab all y'all up and show y'all love. And I bring this point up to say to a lot of young guys, and older guys, including Russell Westbrook, LeBron James came and dabbed you up. Me and you done had plenty of arguments on here about the GOAT situation, and you done brought up facts about LeBron and things to that nature. But LeBron James, understand, is nothing personal. This is what he signed up for. We're talking about the game of basketball. And here's the thing that that bothers me so much about Russ right now. We're talking about basketball. And you know how I feel about Mama Westbrook. You know how I feel about OG Westbrook. You know how I feel about Nina and them lovely kids, and even his brother Ray. We're not talking about life. And so when Russ goes on there and I'm watching the interview because I didn't get a chance to come on here and address it with you, and the reporter asked him and said, the journalist asked him and said, well, what did you envision? I didn't envision nothing. And I sat back and said, Russ, are you serious right now? Why in the hell did you sign off to go to the Lakers if you didn't envision winning the championship? See, you can't go on there and say things like that. That's when Magic Johnson come on Countdown with y'all and get pissed off and say the words he say, or the great James Worthy say the things that he say when he say things pregame. So look, man, at the end of the day, the Lakers are done. Okay, whether they make it out of the play-in and get in the first round, the Lakers are done, Stephen A. They're done. They just don't have the personnel to compete with those top teams in the Western Conference, even if they get out of the play-in.
Okay, if they get out of the play-in, could they win the first round? I sincerely doubt it, but my God, the way LeBron James looked Saturday night was something spectacular and anything's possible. Let me say this about Russell Westbrook, and I'm going to close this out. I happen to know that Russell Westbrook had issues with people challenging his character. I want to state for the record, his character is not to be challenged. He's a family man. He don't get in any trouble. He don't engage in any nonsense. He gives back to the community. He cares about people a lot of people don't give a damn about. And he's very philanthropic and charitable with his time, his money, his energy, the whole bit. He's a good brother. Yeah. And his family. His father came to me to give me a hug. It was great to see his dad, when, the other night at the Clippers game or what have you. I've loved his father for years, and his mama is wonderful, and I know his wife is great too, and we know all of that about Russ. Here's where the problem lies. Saturday night, the Countdown crew that you talked about, we were told afterwards, I don't know if it's true or not, we were told afterwards, Russell Westbrook wasn't even warming up half the time. He was busy staring at us. Because he was ticked off, okay, because of some of the headlines between Magic and myself, whatever. Again, I don't know if it's true, but that's what they said. Here's the part that he gets upset about if you look at what I've said about him. Last year, you in Washington, press conference. I don't care about championships. I see plenty of champions who are less happier than me in life. You come to this season, just a few months ago, weeks ago, rather. They talked about, do you take this home with you? Please, I don't take that home with me. I'm good. Y'all take that bleep home with y'all. Blah, 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 blah. Then the other day you said, I have no expectations. Russell Westbrook's effort on the court, he never, ever cheats us. He gives us all he has. But what he doesn't understand is that you forget that when he's struggling and he says stuff like that, because then he gives you the impression he getting paid, so he don't care. Now, I know he don't feel that way. You know he don't feel that way. You know he's a better man and a better professional than that. But others don't know that. And when you say that, but you representing the Washington Wizards, you got a shot of getting away with that. When you representing the Los Angeles Lakers, and you've got Magic Johnson talking about you, and James Worthy doing post-game on you. And, oh, by the way, it's the same. You're a teammate with LeBron and Anthony Davis. And, oh, by the way, it's the same uniform that Kobe Bryant wore, God rest his soul. And that same Kobe Bryant looked at you one time and said, you next. That's how lofty the expectations were for you. You cannot utter those words. You can't do that wearing a Lakers uniform because no one's going to remember everything else. You're going to be the guy that we go to Springfield and celebrate when you go into the Hall of Fame and they're going to give you your props for a speech. But nobody's going to remember you at any other time because they're going to remember what you said about championships not being a priority, and they're going to remember what you said about not taking it home with you, and they're going to remember what you said about not having expectations. I'm not saying it, Molly and Perk, to get on him. I'm saying him to help him. In case you don't know, in case you're wondering what the narrative is going to be, I'm giving you a heads up. Bro, you've got to change that, because once it changes for the worse, it ain't no coming back. And he's on the verge of it changing in a fashion he thinks he's ready for, but he ain't. Because ain't nobody going to be ready for that kind of shrapnel coming in their direction. Because he's bringing it on himself. It ain't the media, Molly. It ain't us. His quotes are killing him.
Fair enough. We got to leave it right there, though, guys. We're up against it. Coming up here on First Take, little football to get into.
That's why I need that championship.
Marcus Spears back here with us. Marcus, do you agree with Lamar about the perception of black quarterbacks?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's nuanced, though. I think the tone has changed. We had the year of the black quarterback was a phenomenal piece that was done by Undefeated. But when you think about it, I just think about in context of how we think about these guys. It's always, and he can throw too, right? We talk about athleticism. Lamar Jackson won a Heisman Trophy playing quarterback coming out of Louisville. And they wanted to see if he could change positions. That is the perception that he's talking about. He's talking about when he's in the league. And look, I've been one on this show. Me and Stephen A have talked about it. You have to, this league longevity-wise, you have to have the ability to morph into a guy that can operate at an elite level from the pocket. That doesn't have anything to do with thinking. That is when your skill, your athleticism diminishes. You still have to have that ability towards the end of his career or the end of his time when we all first saw Michael Vick, played against him. The first thing we game plan for was his athleticism. And Michael Vick could throw the ball through a car wash and it not get wet, but that's not something that we talked about. That wasn't the emphasis that was put on it. And I understand the elite level of athleticism can make defensive coordinators or teams that's drafting a quarterback kind of have those side eyes about, well, how does he operate when we got to be efficient going down the field? I think that's the perception that Lamar was talking about.
Well, I'm not going to challenge you on any of that. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I just don't give a damn. And I'll explain what I mean in a second. I first want to say this. What Maverick Carter and LeBron James are doing with the shop is incredibly important. The first thing I want to say is that it's very, very impressive what they're doing. And I'm proud of those brothers. But I also want to say this to them. Man, if you roam around in this business, the brilliance of Maverick Carter continues to shine and elevate significantly. And we all know the brilliance of LeBron James, not just as an athlete, but as a businessman, you know, an athlete turned businessman. A lot of times I'm watching this show and they're conversing, and that's great. I have a mere suggestion. If you're LeBron James, what I would love him and Maverick Carter to do more of on camera, because I'm not saying they don't do it off camera, but I would love to see them do on camera, is give some advice. Because people will listen. Rather than just a conversation, educate, edify, elevate these brothers. Because, you know, I was thinking, watching Lamar Jackson, and you know who I couldn't get off my mind? Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown.
He was on the shop, too. He was on the shop, too. And they let him talk, and they let him speak, and all of that stuff was true. But how'd that work out for him? Because he went back doing the same nonsense that he was doing before he showed up on the shop. I would have loved to see LeBron, figuratively or literally, wrap his arms around that brother and say, hey, man, this is who you are, and this is who you could be. And I want you, just my little tidbits of advice, because let me tell you something. If LeBron gives advice and Maverick Carter is elevating himself to a point where if he gives advice, you will listen. You damn sure should. Listen, I'm older. I'd listen to both of them because I think they're both brilliant. I really, really do. I can't express to you enough how I feel about Maverick Carter. I mean, this brother's special. He really, really is, okay? And LeBron's brilliance in making sure he supported brothers like him and Rich Paul. I got to give a lot of love, respect, and credit to him for that, okay? Now let me get back to this point about Lamar Jackson. I don't give a damn, and here's why. I would never be foolish enough to assume that this thing getting paid over $160 million, and this is with him not playing because he got 22 different cases against him. You understand what I'm saying? For sexual misconduct, sexual assault, that kind of stuff. Okay, that ain't got anything to do with the public. That doesn't have anything to do with racism. That doesn't have anything to do with the Houston Texans. That's him. Now, I'm not saying he's innocent or guilty. I'm not casting any aspersions. I'm not casting any innocence. I don't know what the hell happened. Okay, you know, the civil courts and anything beyond that will tell us the truth. But he's in that predicament. That's why he didn't play football last year, okay? It wasn't because of anything else. You had those cases against you, and I know you didn't want to go to play for the Texans. We get that. But chances are it would have been easier for them to move you had you not had those cases against you, okay? Because they're worried about getting, you know, whatever marketability that you bring, they're worried about getting equitable compensation in return for your services. So then you look at a Russell Wilson. You got him going on. You got him. He's a big-time quarterback in the National Football League. You turn a lot of Dak Prescott. Got $35 million last year. You understand? Dallas Cowboys ain't win nothing. Don't get me started with them, okay? Dak Prescott ain't changed their fortunes. We got $75 million. $75 million. And so when you look at it from a peripheral perspective, and you see the multitude of black quarterbacks in the National Football League, you ain't trying to hear that from Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, without a lawyer, without an agent, right now can walk into a room and says this conversation by himself, because he doesn't have representation, right? He can walk in the room by himself right now and say, we ain't starting this conversation unless we starting off at $250 million. $250 million, that's where we going to start this conversation before we do anything else. He could literally say that, and the Baltimore Ravens would have to sit up there and pay attention.
Hold on. We ain't talking about money, bro. Like, we all acknowledge that all of those guys you just mentioned play the game at a high level. Right. I take perception different. I take perception as if a white quarterback was coming out of college that won a Heisman Trophy, they wouldn't have asked him to play a different position. Okay?
Oh,
Tim Tebow was
that.
drafted first round to the Denver Broncos. That's the perception I'm talking about. I'm not saying that the league is biased. Talent is being seen now by black quarterbacks. I don't believe teams are going into it and saying this guy can't play. This guy black, he can play quarterback, but we don't want to draft him because 10 years from now he might not be good if he's not an athlete. I don't believe teams are formulating their ideas like that. What I think, though, perception-wise, is when athleticism runs out, this guy is not going to be a good quarterback or a good enough quarterback in order to take us over the top and win a Super Bowl. I think that's the perception he's talking about.
Okay. But my point to you is this. Is that accurate? Because you got a lot of people that don't believe if you took away his running ability, he would not be that great. Now, they didn't say that. They ain't saying that about Patrick Mahomes. They ain't saying that about Russell Wilson. Yeah. They ain't saying that about Deshaun Watson. But they didn't say it about Dante Culpepper. They didn't say that about Steve McNair. You knew he could throw. You knew these brothers could throw the football. So again, what I'm saying is, we understand it's bias. We understand. Oh, please, I know he's right about that. But I'm just saying, for me, when I think about the plight of the black quarterback, okay? I certainly don't think it's what it used to be. I don't think that.
No,
I don't think that at all.
We in agreement with that.
Right.
We in agreement with that. What you and I are talking about, what I'm talking about is perception, S.A. And that's why when I first started talking about this, I said I've been guilty of it. How many times on this show, Molly Q and Stephen A., have I talked about the Baltimore Ravens need to expand their passing game and evolve it in order for Lamar Jackson to have success and win a Super Bowl? All right?
Sure
because the perception from people is what we are talking about. If Lamar Jackson's athleticism fades, is he the same guy that we talk about? Maybe not. And I understand that from an athleticism standpoint. But you can't go to that man in college who won a Heisman Trophy playing quarterback, and ask him to do something else. And we might not be talking about all quarterbacks, Stephen A.
Yeah.
He is speaking from his experience and the things that he's talking about. And then, too, to the LeBron thing, because I want to hit that before we go. With LeBron and Mav Carter, I think the forum is there for those guys to say what they want to say. And I agree with you about giving them advice and talking to them about things that they may be doing wrong. And they may have pulled Antonio Brown to the side. I'm sure a lot of people have. They may have pulled Lamar Jackson to the side and dropped gems on him. That's the kind of vibes I get from those guys. But I think in that particular setting, when they're on camera, they want them guys to be 100% authentically themselves. Because uninterrupted, I believe, under my assumption, is for those guys to come on and be 100% authentic. Whether we think, you and I looked at Antonio Brown and we say, man, that sounds crazy. That is crazy what he is talking about. Yeah. But ultimately, I think the forum was designed in order for those guys, in particular, whoever comes on there, to be who they are at that present moment.
No, absolutely.
I hope that they gave him advice. I hope that they dropping jewels. But I think that particular setting is for them to be the way that they are.
I think that's why it's called the shop, that barbershop type feel, so everybody's comfortable. And I like Stephen A's sentiment in terms of giving advice, because we respect LeBron and Mav so much and how
100%.
Successful they are. But at the same time,
100%.
one thing I've learned, gentlemen, as I'm starting to get older, it's not worth giving advice unless somebody wants it or asks for it. Save your breath. So we don't know if Antonio Brown would have even received it. All right, we will leave it there.
Sometimes you gotta try anyway.
Lead a horse to water.
When we come back here on First Take, he's third all-time in NBA history. In Saturday, the big performance put LeBron within striking distance of surpassing Karl Malone for second place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. He's averaging more than 29 points per game this season. In second to MVP frontrunner Joel Embiid. Scoring has never been a problem for the King, but here he is on his show, The Shop, talking about his perception. Stephen A., do you agree with LeBron that he isn't considered among the greatest scorers?
No, I don't. I think he's being ultra-sensitive in that regard. We all know that LeBron James is an elite scorer. He's a career 27-point-per-game scorer. How the hell do we not know he's a scorer? But anything that we look at him as it pertains to deferring from the scoring, is LeBron's fault. LeBron wanted to be seen as the guy who makes the right play. He wanted to be seen as the guy who put winning ahead of his own numbers. He wanted to be seen as the guy who didn't mind being deferential. And ultimately, it became his detriment, because we view him, Big Perk, as a guy that's an all-around player. Like, for example, when we have him as number 2, he's focused on the fact that we don't have him as the greatest of all time. What he's not focused enough on is that we have him.
Who is we?
A lot. I'm saying people like myself and many, many others who have him number 2. I'm not the only person that have him number 2. Not you. I know you have him number 1.
It's not. You
have him number 1.
That's correct.
There's no correcting. I spoke eloquently and on point. You just got confused because you thought I was talking about you. I wasn't talking about you. But I'm saying that a lot of people have him number 2. What he's not focused on, he's focused on number 2 as being behind Jordan. He's not focused on number 2 as being ahead of Kareem. And that's the thing, all right? And that's what we have to pay attention to. Because in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you have a 19-time All-Star, the league's all-time leading scorer, a 6-time league MVP, 6 NBA championships, and what have you. All of these superlatives won on the high school, collegiate level, and the professional level and stuff like that. And we still have LeBron ahead of him. Why? Because when it comes to LeBron, we ain't just looking at scoring. We're looking at all the other things that he brings to the game, and we understand that. Where the comparisons to Jordan come into play is that Jordan was an assassin. It wasn't about the numbers. It was about a mentality. What LeBron James is now and what he ultimately became, Jordan walked in with that kind of mentality. And so people, it's just a preference, and I understand that. But the point is, that's why we don't necessarily look at LeBron as the quote-unquote scorer that he wants us to look at him as. We know he's an elite scorer. We get it. The numbers speak for themselves. The difference is LeBron spent a vast majority of time not wanting us to focus on that when he was doing other great things. And that's one of my big problems, Perk, when I've had issues with LeBron in the past, It was because you create a narrative. We grasp it. And then you mad at us because we grasped that narrative that you wanted us to grab. You wanted us to see you as this all-around dude. You wanted us to see as you as a combination of Jordan and Magic Johnson. You wanted us to see you as this dude who was a facilitator that would make the right play, that was about winning, wasn't just about your numbers and all of these other things. You wanted that. We said, okay, we see your game, we got it. And then when we do it, well, damn it, it pisses me off that I'm not seen as a scorer. This is the kind of stuff that he does. And so if I ever got into a friendly discussion, God forbid they ever invited me on a shot perk, you know that would be box office. It'd be a problem. You know what I'm saying? Because I would demand. Listen. I remember one time Rich Paul told me about it. He said, you come on the shop. I said, never, unless it was unedited. I wouldn't want, you ain't taping me. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't taping and parsing my words and cutting stuff out. Nah, I'm Stephen A. I'm going to roll up in the shop. It's going to be live, unedited. You understand what I'm saying? That's how it's going to be. Got to make sure my words don't get twisted. But that would be something, because these are the kind of things I would hold LeBron accountable for, which is my last point. That's why you see the ticker on the bottom. Usually when I'm going off about something LeBron, great father, great husband, great businessman, philanthropist, I put out all these categories. And like, did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? Because I want to make sure that I give props where props is due, because they act like you're not giving them props. But you're usually not giving them props because LeBron James changes the narrative. He wants to be seen as one thing this time, and then another thing this time, and then another thing that time. And then he's looking at you and saying, why y'all not giving me love for it? Well, damn it, because you didn't want it. You want it to be seen as something else.
Stephen A., as bad as I want to come on here and disagree with you right now, I can't. I can't. And look, the numbers back it up. He's the lead scorer. Like, he put up the numbers. But LeBron James, he does want to be considered the best all-around basketball player that ever played the game. And I believe that he is. When you look at his stat line, a career 27 points, 7.5 assists, almost 8 rebounds a night. I get that. But see, when we talk about great scorers, we talk about guys that solely focus on getting buckets. Like, we talk about guys that win multiple scoring titles, like Jordan, like Kevin Durant, like Kobe Bryant. You know what I mean? When we talk about guys, like, these guys were known for getting buckets, like a Jamal Crawford. And look, I'm not trying to put him in the same category for Jordan, but just think about it. When we look at even a guy like Lou Will, we think of him as getting buckets. When we look at LeBron James, we don't look at him as getting buckets. Now, can he get buckets? Absolutely. But he's not just a scorer. It's a different type of conversation when you talk about the greatest scorers. In my eyes, I think Kevin Durant is the greatest scorer to ever touch the basketball. That's just my opinion. That's my preference. He has 0 flaws in his game. We haven't seen a guy like him that's 7 foot with the handle, the hezzy pull-up from the tray ball, 50, 40, 90 club almost every season because of how efficient he is. But what LeBron has to stop doing on this aspect is, look, he can't move the goalpost when it's convenient for him. Okay? He can't move the goalposts when it's convenient for him. And you know I'm one of LBJ's biggest fans, that's my brother, whatever the case may be. But listen, he's wrong on this one. We're not taking nothing away from him for him being able to get buckets, but it's just a different type of getting buckets. And that's the KDs and the Melos. That's what they consider bucket getters.
And what I'm saying to you is those different kinds of things is why I believe I have the right to put Jordan ahead of him. And a lot of people join me in that regard. That wouldn't be the only reason, but that's certainly one of the reasons. But we understand that the greatest testament to LeBron James is the fact that it is debatable that he's the best player that has ever played the game of basketball. Exactly who the hell he is Saturday night. But the flip side to that is that when you see the pieces around him and their inability to perform, also, that comes into play in terms of what you can galvanize from the troops around you as to whether or not they can live up to expectations. He has something to do with that, too. He prides himself on being a complete basketball player and a complete leader. All of these things are what he says. Now he's going to throw scorer into the equation after years of telling us it wasn't a priority for him. So it's like you can't have it all, your way. Like Kendrick Perkins said, you can't move the goalpost. LeBron James is as close to being deified as anybody in the history of basketball outside of Michael Jordan. It's well-deserved. He's profoundly respected and the whole bit. But you don't get to move the goalpost and change it and want us to say you a scorer.
Much more NBA tomorrow. Big Perk, thank you so much for being with us. When we come back here on First Take, it wasn't just LeBron who put on a show last night. Did you 81% from the fourth quarter on? It was incredible. Now he has the second shortest odds for MVP. But I wanted to know, who is your MVP now?
It's hard right now. I mean, I'm still going to look at, listen, it's a 14 race. I don't have a choice right now. It changes week to week. DeMar DeRozan, John Morant, Embiid, it was 2 weeks ago. DeRozan, it was last week. Then John Morant, now Jokic. The guy's phenomenal what he's doing without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. He's just absolutely, positively phenomenal. You can go in any direction with any of those four, and we didn't even include Giannis, who's doing what he's doing. But right now, you've got to consider Jokic, and you've got to consider Ja Morant as well. But I'm not ruling out Embiid and DeMar DeRozan. It's just that Zach LaVine is back with DeRozan.
Yep.
Harden is with Embiid. I think that may hurt him. It may come down to Jokic and Morant. But we'll see.
Jokic had a 46-point triple-double, and he's so humble. So much fun to watch. All right, Stephen A., travel safe, and good luck being Brick. We'll talk soon.